So this episode is brought to you by Pizza Bread. Oh my god. Um. Okay. So yeah. So pizza bread, right? You have you take a piece of bread, you put some pasta on it, you put cheese and pepperoni. Fucking pizza bread. Okay, so 7 horrific crimes that are not crimes anymore in America. That's what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read a list of 7 horrific crimes that aren't crimes anymore. You know, we're allowed to fucking torture, assassinate anybody we think is a terrorist, even if it's an American citizen, and some other things. But first, I want to talk about this one study that came out that said the United States was an oligarchy. No shit, like fucking clearly we're an oligarchy. An oligarchy is just a government that is run by the few, and so they wanted to determine if it's a democracy or an oligarchy. We've never been a fucking democracy. It's not ruled by the people, especially in Kentucky. 25% turnout rate. So we've never seen fucking democracy anywhere. We haven't seen it in our political establishment, in the workplace, in school. There is no fucking democracy in America. Not even at Occupy fucking Louisville. Occupy Louisville is a bunch of fucking fascist Nazi motherfuckers that the right wing fascists, right? Not even left wing. No Leninists, just a bunch of fucking racist fucking piece of shit that the Occupy Louisville, they wanted to protest the homeless instead of the white people in, you know, the buildings. They wanted to protest the white male homeless people for being white and male, but those who are rich and running shit, they didn't want to fucking say shit to them. So, of course, the United States is an oligarchy. Like, what the fuck? Ruled by the few. In fact, every government is ruled by the few. Whether it's federal, local, state, all government is ruled by the few. You elect them, and then they rule and do whatever the fuck they want to do. So, really, our democracy is just one flash for a second on election day. And that's it. And that's only representative democracy. We choose the people that we want to rule over us. So, we give our power away. The power of the state, we say, well, here, we'll put our, you know, our bid in for Allison Lundergan Grimes, so that way she can get us some more bloody empire and bloody war. She hasn't said shit about foreign policy. Who knows where the fuck she stands on foreign policy? But more specifically, the United States is a plutocracy. So, of course, it's not an oligarchy ruled by the few, but a plutocracy is ruled by the rich. And so we are ruled by the few, right? Those in power are the few, but those people are paid through political contributions, and the rich, they pull the fucking strings behind, you know, the owners of society. The politicians are just the puppets, right, for the actual the chambers of commerce and the corporations and McDonald's of the world. Top 100 economies, over half of them are corporations, which says that nation states and corporations are essentially competing for what it is our futures are going to look like. So run by a small group of people. That's true of all governments. In fact, I was reading about the Native Americans and how they had like these mounds in the center of their in the center of their towns, and that's where they would all congregate. And so those people who were usually the head or the chiefs would actually live right next to the mound. Even if it wasn't like intentional, I think it's just kind of how shit works out, because you need a central location for the people that has the power to be able to, you know, issue their fucking decrees and bellow their fucking judgments. I think this and I think that. And so it's just like the courthouses in Kentucky. So in Kentucky, we have a Native American culture here. The agriculture, actually, I was checking out one of the Native Americans, and they raised beans and corn and tobacco, but they also raised like pumpkins and squash and several other things, more than what I was raised when I was younger. It's like, damn, fucking Native Americans is actually above our agricultural astuteness today. So the agricultural revolution, the agricultural advancements in North America was actually way better than the Europeans. Europeans only won out because of guns, germs, and steel. So just basically blind luck of the draw and a penchant to be able to fucking be a bloody barbaric piece of shit. You know, the Spaniards and the French and the English colonists didn't give a fuck about just wiping out entire fucking villages. Okay, so the United States oligarchy is true of all governments. Of course, we're run by small people. If you want to know who controls your local government, just go to the courthouse, because that's going to be the mound, okay? So I just see a correlation between the Native Americans and with the Kentucky people. 120 counties, we got lots of different districts, and the democracy is very has a good potential here. in the bluegrass state, because we have so many different districts and regions. If we the people, the working class people, would just take over the courthouse, because those who run each county comes out of the courthouse. Okay, the judge executive, the county attorney, the sheriffs, they all operate out of the courthouse. What the fucking judges say to do and what they say not to do. So really, the judicial branch fucking controls the whole fucking thing. The legislative and the executive doesn't mean shit without the fucking judiciary. So the judiciary is one of the most fucking powerful, important fucking branches of local government when it comes to Kentucky. Those who control the courthouse, that's also your clerks. That's who controls your government. Another quick thing, Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, he is he's taking over the David Letterman show. Even though his audience are typically more liberal and he wins all these awards, it's always hard fucking watching him. Jon Stewart is himself, so I'm actually looking forward to see what Stephen Colbert looks like himself. And actually, Stephen Colbert is intolerable. I cannot fucking stand listening to him, because I know he's a liberal and everything's supposed to be backwards. You know, I'm rooting for the guy, but a lot of times he'll slip in some conservative joke. He had a joke about Social Security is really just the tip at the end of a dinner, right? It's just the extra money that you get at the end. And so he was kind of saying that it's kind of bullshit, you know. They're taking my money. Social Security is a fucking scam, and there is a sort of a Ponzi schemist thing that's going on to it, because the young people put into it, and then the old people take the money that the young people put into it. Now the assumption is when we get old, then the young people will be giving our money, and so it just keeps on circulating, right? But that's not how that's just the idea of it, that you get your money back. It isn't how it works. I give the money and then it's gone. Once I give the Social Security, they fucking take it and they spend it on whatever it is they want to fucking spend it on. So by him doing this conservative shtick, by him pretending to be like Bill O'Reilly, he's actually making the Papa Bear. That's what he calls Bill O'Reilly. He's making him like way bigger than what he actually is. And he's also saying some conservative lines that people might be sympathetic. He might say some shit that people be down on. You know, like I've heard actually conservatives like some of the shit that he does. He did a fucking Occupy Wall Street piece, and the fucking conservatives went all hog wild on that. So I don't know where he stands. I do like the fact that he tries to get into politics, electoral politics, wanting to run for president, trying to get Jon Stewart to run for president, looked at an exploratory committee, started a super PAC, goes to the Washington and gives speeches and shit. So I do like all those things. I think I like the Stephen Colbert to his core, but I think him playing a fake Bill O'Reilly, it gives Bill O'Reilly more credence. It gives him more fucking airwave and space, and it just makes him bigger than what he actually is. And I would like to see, like, what would be the counterpart of what it is I'm trying to say. What would it look like if he was an over-the-top liberal? A fucking liberal who just loves America, loves Kentucky, loves, you know, this country, the dirt and the soil, and just wants the people and the working class to have solidarity and to be together and to have peaceful relations and to not be, you know, warm with their neighbors and to be friendly to one another. So what would it look like as a Bill O'Reilly for the left? You know, not a fucking parody. Is that all the liberals can do, is a fucking parody of the right? They can't have no fucking liberal, you know, champions. We had, I guess, Keith Olbermann. He was right in your fucking face. Mr. President, how dare you, Mr. President? And almost seemed like he was in his fucking living room just like yelling right at him, right? How dare you? And so that's a cool one. But it's not like, I mean, I don't know, I guess a comedian over the top entertainment. I guess that's a good comparison for Bill O'Reilly. He's just such a fucking douche, man. We talk about fucking Fox News way too much. 9 minutes. I got 6 more minutes to go down to the 7 horrific crimes. I also want to talk about Chris Hedges' piece. I'm just going to read his straight through. Probably this one too. So, Salon. April 22nd, 2014, 7 horrific crimes that aren't crimes anymore for America's most powerful. Many of the worst abuses begun under the Bush administration have only become more entrenched by Tom Englehart, TomDispatch.com. So, 7 free passes for the national security state, with Cartwright as a possible exception. The members of the national security state, unlike the rest of us, exist in what might be called post-legal America. They know that no matter how heinous the crime, they will not be brought to justice for it. The list of potential serious criminal acts for which no one has had to take responsibility in a court of law is long and never tabulated in one place. Consider this, then, initial rundown on 7 of the most obvious crimes and misdemeanors of this era for which no one has been held accountable. Kidnapping. After 9/11, the CIA got into kidnapping in a big way. At least 136 terror suspects and possibly many more, including completely innocent people, were kidnapped off the streets of global cities as well as from the backlands of the planet. Often with the help of local police or intelligence agencies, 54 other countries were enlisted in the enterprise. The prisoners were delivered either into the Bush administration's secret global system of prisons, also known as black sites, to be detained and mistreated, or they were rendered directly into the hands of torturing regimes from Egypt to Uzbekistan. No American involved has been brought to court for such illegal acts, nor did the American government ever offer an apology, no less restitution to anyone it kidnapped, even those who turned out to be not terror suspects. One set of CIA agents was, however, indicted in Italy for kidnapping and rendition to Egypt. Among them was the agency's Milan station chief, Robert Sheldon Lady. He had achieved brief notoriety for overseeing a La Dolce Vita version of rendition. La Dolce Vita, it's a beautiful life. And later fled the country for the United States. Last year, he was briefly taken into custody in Panama, only to be spirited out of the country back to safety by the U.S. government. So, you know, including innocent people we've kidnapped, you know, terror suspects, 136, some innocent people. Lots of other countries are getting into this. So, because America is an empire, we're allowed to go in and fucking, if we suspect you as a terrorist, we can go into your country and take, you know, unless you're a nuclear, nuclear state, then America can go into your country and steal, kidnap whoever they want to, as long as it's a suspected terrorist, probably drone strike whoever they want to, torture and other abuses, so we're allowed to torture, you know. Similarly, it'd be no news to anyone that in their infamous torture memos, officials of the Bush Justice Department freed CIA interrogators to take the gloves off and use what were in euphemistically called enhanced interrogation techniques, right? Oh, it just sounds like hazing by my old classmates. That's all it was. There's a bunch of hazing. Who gives a shit? Fucking enhanced torture techniques. So we're allowed to torture, right? The destruction of evidence of a crime, to purposely destroy evidence in order to impede a future investigation of possible criminal acts, is itself, of course, a crime. We know that such a thing did indeed happen. Jose Rodriguez Jr., the head of CIA clandestine operations, destroyed 92 videotapes of the repeated waterboardings of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who planned the 9/11 attacks, and alleged al-Qaeda operative Abu Zubaydah. Tapes that he had been explicitly told to preserve as part of an official investigation. Justice Department investigated his act but never charged him, and he has since defended himself in a book, Hard Measure, saying that he was in essence tired of waiting for Washington's bureaucracy to make a decision that protected American lives. He is still free in writing op-eds for the Washington Post, defending the interrogation program whose tapes he destroyed. The planning of an extra-legal prison system. So, you know, now these people, they can fucking do all this shit, but they can get away, you know, they're getting away with fucking murder, essentially. They're allowed to kidnap people. They're allowed to have these, you know, extraordinary renditions where they're like outsourcing torture. If they record any of the torture on a videotape, they'll destroy the videotape. So really the powers that be, those who have state authority, those in the NSA or the CIA or part of the feds, anybody that's part of the feds, the Justice Department, they're getting away with anything and everything. The planning of an extra legal prison system, as is now well known, a global network of extra-legal prisons or black sites of which acts of torture and abuse of every sort could be committed, was set up at the wishes of the highest officials of the Bush administration, right? So now we have prisons that will accept our prisoners and do the torturing for us. So that's not crime. It's not a crime to have fucking, to be kidnapping people. It's not a crime to be fucking, torturing the shit out of them or getting other people to fucking do your torturing. Assassination. Once upon a time, off the books, assassination was generally a rare act of state and always one that presidents could deny responsibility for. Now, as part of everyday life in the White House, at the CIA, the president's role as assassin-in-chief, as the man who quite literally makes the final decision on whom to kill, has been all but publicly promoted as a political plus. The drone assassination campaigns in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, though covert and run by a civilian agency with much secret help from the U.S. Air Force are openly reported on in the media and discussed as a seeming point of pride by those involved, right? So perjury before Congress is another thing that was listed on here. Too big to fail, national security style. So they're too fucking big to fail, right? There's a fucking behemoth, fucking bureaucracy. They do whatever the fuck they want to do. It's all clandestine behind closed doors. It's just like the fucking Federal Reserve. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's asking the questions that need to be asked. They're not being honest with us. They're not being forthright. It's not transparent government when it should be a transparent government, and we should have the privacy. But they're the ones with the privacy, and we're the ones got to be transparent.